Lisa had been looking forward to this move for months. After years of saving money and dealing with noisy apartment neighbors, she finally had her own little house in Oakwood Hills. It wasn't anything fancy, just a cozy 2-bedroom with a small front yard and a back porch where she could sit and grade papers in peace. She was a high school English teacher, and the quiet suburban life felt like exactly what she needed. No more hearing someone's music through thin walls at midnight. No more fighting for parking spots. Just peace, quiet, and maybe a garden where she could grow some tomatoes. The moving truck had barely pulled away when she met her first neighbor. An older woman with perfectly styled blonde hair and designer sunglasses walked up her driveway with purpose. She wasn't smiling. "You must be the new owner," the woman said, looking Lisa up and down like she was inspecting a used car. "I'm Patricia Hartley. I'm on the HOA board. Actually, I've been the president for the last 12 years. Lisa wiped the sweat from her forehead and extended her hand. "Nice to meet you. I'm Lisa Chen, just moving in today, as you can see." Patricia barely touched her hand before pulling back. "Yes, well, I wanted to welcome you to the neighborhood and give you a copy of our community guidelines." She handed Lisa a thick binder that must have been 50 pages long. "We take pride in maintaining our property values here. I'm sure you understand." Lisa flipped through the binder, her eyes widening at the detail. Rules about fence heights, approved paint colors, acceptable lawn decorations, even specific types of mailboxes. "Wow, this is pretty thorough. We like to keep things uniform," Patricia said, her eyes already scanning Lisa's front porch. "Speaking of which, those wind chimes will need to come down." Lisa looked at the small set of wind chimes she'd hung up just an hour ago. They were a gift from her mother. Delicate silver tubes that made the gentlest tinkling sound in the breeze. "Are wind chimes not allowed?" Page 17, Section 4, Subsection B. Excessive noise violations, Patricia recited from memory. Wind chimes fall under that category. "But they're barely audible," Lisa said, trying to keep her voice friendly. "I can only hear them when I'm standing right here." Patricia's smile was tight and cold. "Rules are rules, dear. They apply to everyone equally. I'm sure you want to be a good neighbor and follow them, right?" Lisa felt her jaw tighten, but she forced herself to stay calm. She'd learned a long time ago that some battles weren't worth fighting, especially not on her first day in a new place. "Sure, no problem. I'll take them down." "Wonderful." Patricia's eyes continued their inspection. "Also, I notice your mailbox is slightly off-center from the post. You'll want to correct that, and make sure any garden plants stay within your property line. The Mitchells next door had issues with that last year." Lisa just nodded, exhausted from the move and not in the mood for confrontation. "Got it, thanks for the information." As Patricia walked away, Lisa noticed an older couple across the street watching from their window. They quickly looked away when she made eye contact. A man mowing his lawn 3 houses down seemed to deliberately keep his head down. That evening, as Lisa unpacked boxes in her living room, she heard her doorbell ring. A woman about her age stood there holding a plate of cookies, looking slightly nervous. "Hi, I'm Jenny. I live 2 houses down with my husband and kids." She glanced over her shoulder before continuing in a lower voice. "I just wanted to say welcome to the neighborhood, and I'm sorry about Patricia." Lisa laughed, accepting the cookies. "Is she always like that?" "You have no idea," Jenny whispered. "She's made 3 families sell their houses in the past 5 years. My husband wanted to put up a basketball hoop for our son, and she fought it for 6 months, said it was an eyesore and violated the recreational equipment clause." "Are you serious?" "Dead serious. She measures people's grass with a ruler. She takes photos of everyone's houses looking for violations. Last summer, she reported the Hendersons because their 4th of July decorations stayed up until July 6th. Jenny shook her head. "Just keep your head down and follow every single rule in that binder. That's the only way to survive, Patricia Hartley." After Jenny left, Lisa sat on her porch and looked at her wind chimes one last time. They caught the evening light, casting tiny rainbow reflections on the wall. Her mother had given them to her when she started teaching, saying they'd bring peace to her new life. She reached up and unhooked them, feeling a small knot of frustration in her chest. But she tamped it down. She'd dealt with difficult people before. Her principal was demanding. Some parents were unreasonable. She'd learned to pick her battles and stay calm. What Patricia and the rest of the neighborhood didn't know was that staying calm wasn't just a personality trait for Lisa. It was training. Years and years of training. Every morning before school, Lisa went to Master Kim's dojo across town. She'd been going there since college, working her way through every belt color until she earned her black belt 3 years ago, then her second degree black belt, and just last year, her third degree. 15 years of discipline, 15 years of learning control, patience, and how to read people. 15 years of understanding that real strength wasn't about showing off or intimidating others. It was about knowing what you were capable of and choosing when to use it. As she carried the wind chimes inside, Lisa smiled to herself. Patricia Hartley thought she was dealing with just another pushover neighbor who'd caved to her demands. And for now, Lisa was happy to let her think that. After all, the best defense was the one nobody saw coming. 2 months had passed since Lisa moved into Oakwood Hills, and Patricia's complaints had become a weekly routine. First, it was the mailbox being painted off-white instead of pure white. Lisa repainted it. Then it was her car being parked 6 inches too far to the left in her own driveway. Lisa adjusted it. After that, Patricia claimed Lisa's rose bushes extended 2 inches past the property line. Lisa trimmed them back. Every single time, Lisa complied without argument. She'd simply nod, say thank you for bringing it to her attention, and fix whatever Patricia claimed was wrong. This wasn't fear. It was strategy. In all her years of martial arts training, Master Kim had taught her one crucial lesson: conserve your energy for battles that matter. But Patricia was getting bolder. Lisa noticed her walking past the house at odd times, phone in hand, taking pictures. Not just of Lisa's house, but close-ups of every tiny detail. The edge of the lawn, the angle of the porch light, even the position of Lisa's garbage cans on trash day. One Tuesday evening, Lisa got home from school to find Patricia actually standing in her front yard with a measuring tape, checking the height of her garden fence. "Patricia, what are you doing?" Lisa asked, trying to keep her voice level. Patricia didn't even look embarrassed. "Just making sure everything is up to code. The fence height limit is 42 inches, you know." "I know. The fence is 41 inches. The same fence that was here when I bought the house." "Well, wood can warp over time," Patricia said, writing something on her clipboard. "I'm just being thorough." Lisa wanted to point out that this was trespassing, that Patricia had no right to be on her property without permission. But she took a deep breath instead, feeling her training kick in. Center yourself, stay calm. Don't react emotionally. "I'd appreciate it if you'd ask before coming onto my property," Lisa said quietly. Patricia looked up with that same cold smile. "It's all part of my duties as HOA president, dear. Nothing personal." Everything about this felt personal, but Lisa let it go. She went inside, changed out of her work clothes, and tried to grade her students' essays. But she couldn't concentrate. Through her front window, she could see Patricia still out there, now photographing Lisa's mailbox from 3 different angles. That weekend, Lisa logged into the neighborhood Facebook group for the first time. She'd avoided it until now, but Jenny had mentioned it was where Patricia often posted her complaints. What she found made her blood pressure rise. Patricia had posted at least 15 comments in the past month. Most were vague, passive-aggressive statements about certain residents who don't understand community standards and people who think rules don't apply to them. There were no names mentioned, but based on the timing of the posts, Lisa knew exactly who Patricia was talking about. One post from just 2 days ago read, "It's disappointing when new residents move in and immediately start lowering property values with their careless attitudes. Some people just don't have the class to live in a nice neighborhood." Lisa's finger hovered over the reply button. She could defend herself. She could point out that she'd followed every ridiculous rule Patricia had thrown at her. But she didn't. Instead, she closed her laptop and went for a run to clear her head. The next HOA meeting was on a Thursday night. Lisa hadn't planned to attend, but Jenny convinced her it might be good to show her face, prove she was a team player. The meeting was held in the community center, a small building near the neighborhood park. About 30 residents were there, sitting in folding chairs arranged in rows. Patricia stood at the front with a microphone going through the agenda: landscaping budget, pool maintenance schedule, upcoming neighborhood garage sale. Everything was running smoothly until they got to new business. Patricia's eyes landed on Lisa in the 3rd row. "Actually, I'd like to address a concern that's been brought to my attention multiple times. We have a new resident who seems to be having difficulty understanding our community standards." Lisa felt her stomach drop. She hadn't expected to be called out publicly. "While I won't name names," Patricia continued, even though she was staring directly at Lisa, "I think it's important we all remember that these rules exist for a reason. They protect our property values. They keep our neighborhood beautiful. And when someone consistently pushes back against these rules, it affects all of us." An older man in the front row raised his hand. "Who are you talking about, Patricia? If there's a specific problem, maybe we should address it directly." "I think everyone knows who I'm talking about," Patricia said. "The constant minor violations, the attitude, the lack of respect for how we do things here. I've tried to be patient, but at some point, we have to ask ourselves if certain people are a good fit for Oakwood Hills." Lisa felt every eye in the room turn toward her. Her face grew hot, not from embarrassment, but from anger. She could feel her heart rate increasing, her muscles tensing. Every instinct told her to stand up, to defend herself, to call out Patricia's lies in front of everyone. But then she remembered her training. Master Kim's voice in her head. "Anger is your opponent's weapon, not yours. When someone tries to provoke you, staying calm is the ultimate power move." Lisa took 3 slow breaths, centering herself. She sat perfectly still, meeting Patricia's gaze with a neutral expression. No anger, no fear, just calm presence. Patricia seemed frustrated by the lack of reaction. She'd clearly wanted Lisa to explode, to prove her point about Lisa being difficult. Instead, Lisa simply nodded slightly and said in a clear, even voice, "I appreciate your feedback, Patricia. I'll continue to do my best to follow all community guidelines." The room was silent. Several neighbors looked uncomfortable. Patricia's face reddened slightly, clearly thrown off by Lisa's composed response. After the meeting, at least 5 neighbors came up to Lisa privately. They apologized for Patricia's behavior. They shared their own stories of harassment. One woman named Carol actually had tears in her eyes. "She did the same thing to us 3 years ago," Carol whispered. "Drove my husband crazy. We almost moved. I'm so sorry you're going through this." As Lisa drove home that night, she realized something important. Patricia wasn't going to stop. If anything, Lisa's calm responses were making her more aggressive, more desperate for a reaction. This was only going to get worse before it got better. The harassment reached a new level the following month. Lisa came home one afternoon to find Patricia standing in her backyard, not even trying to hide what she was doing anymore. She was taking photos of Lisa's fence from the inside of the property, walking around like she owned the place. "Patricia, this needs to stop," Lisa said, keeping her voice steady despite the anger building inside her. "You're on my private property without permission." Patricia turned around casually, like she'd been caught doing nothing wrong. "I received a complaint about your fence height from the backside. I'm simply investigating." "From who? Who complained?" "That's confidential HOA business," Patricia said with a smug smile. "But I take all complaints seriously, regardless of the source." Lisa strongly suspected Patricia had filed the complaint herself, but she couldn't prove it. "Please leave my property. If you need to inspect something, you can request access in writing like anyone else would have to do." Patricia's eyes narrowed. "I don't appreciate your tone. I'm trying to do my job here. And I don't appreciate you trespassing. Please leave." For a moment, they stood there in silence, locked in a battle of wills. Finally, Patricia turned and walked away, but not before saying loud enough for Lisa to hear, "Some people just don't belong in nice neighborhoods." The next day, Lisa got a notice from the city. Someone had filed a complaint claiming she'd done unpermitted construction work on her house. This was completely false. Lisa hadn't touched the structure of the house at all. But now she had to take time off work to meet with a city inspector to prove there was no violation. The inspector, a tired-looking man in his 50s, walked around her house for 20 minutes before shaking his head. "There's no new construction here. None at all. Whoever filed this complaint wasted everyone's time." "Can I ask who filed it?" Lisa already knew the answer. "It was anonymous, but it came through your HOA president." He looked at her with sympathy. "Between you and me, this isn't the first false report I've gotten from this neighborhood. Patricia Hartley seems to have a lot of time on her hands. That comment should have made Lisa feel better, but it didn't. She'd lost half a day of work, had to arrange for a substitute teacher, and all for nothing. Patricia was escalating, and there didn't seem to be any way to stop her. The breaking point came on a Saturday afternoon in early October. Lisa had gone to the neighborhood park to read. It was a beautiful fall day, and she just wanted an hour of peace. She sat on a bench under a large oak tree, absorbed in her book, trying to forget about all the stress Patricia had caused. She didn't even notice Patricia approaching until the woman was standing right in front of her, blocking the sun. "We need to talk," Patricia said, her voice sharp. Lisa looked up calmly. "About what?" "About you. About your attitude. About the fact that you're ruining this neighborhood." Lisa closed her book slowly. Around the park, she could see other people starting to notice the confrontation. Jenny was there with her kids at the playground. The older couple from across the street were on a walk. At least 6 or 7 people were within earshot. "Patricia, I've followed every rule you've given me. I've been patient and respectful. I don't know what else you want from me. I want you gone." Patricia's voice rose sharply. "You don't fit here. You don't understand what we've built in this community. Ever since you moved in, you've been nothing but trouble." Lisa felt her muscles tense, but she forced herself to stay seated, to stay calm. "I haven't been any trouble. You've been harassing me for 4 months." "Harassing you?" Patricia let out a harsh laugh. "I'm enforcing standards. That's my job. If you can't handle living in a quality neighborhood, maybe you should move back to whatever apartment complex you came from." The insult hung in the air. Lisa could feel her heart pounding now, adrenaline starting to flood her system. This was exactly the kind of situation Master Kim had trained her for, not physical threats, but moments where someone pushed you to see if you'd break. She stood up slowly, carefully. "I think we're done here." Patricia stepped closer, invading Lisa's personal space. She was only inches away now, and Lisa could see the anger and arrogance in her eyes. Patricia poked her finger toward Lisa's shoulder, not quite touching, but threatening. "No, we're not done. Not until you understand that I run this neighborhood, not you. Me." Another poke, this time making contact with Lisa's shoulder. "So either you fall in line completely, or I will make your life so miserable you'll have no choice but to leave." Lisa's training kicked in automatically. She could feel every possible response flowing through her muscle memory. Block, redirect, counter. But she didn't move. Not yet. "Patricia, I'm asking you nicely to step back and stop touching me." Or, "What?" Patricia laughed again, and this time she actually shoved Lisa's shoulder with her palm. "What are you going to do about it, huh? What are you possibly going to do?" Around them, the park had gone quiet. Jenny had pulled out her phone. So had the older man from across the street. Several other neighbors were watching intently, some recording, all of them sensing that something was about to happen. Lisa looked at Patricia's hand, still raised near her shoulder, ready to push again. She looked at the woman's face, twisted with years of unchallenged power and petty cruelty. And she made a decision. For 4 months, she'd been patient. For 4 months, she'd followed every rule, backed down from every confrontation, stayed calm in the face of constant harassment. She'd done everything right, and it had only made things worse. Patricia raised her hand to shove her again, clearly thinking Lisa was too scared or too weak to respond. That was her mistake. Lisa's eyes changed. Her posture shifted. Her weight settled into her hips in a way that years of training had made automatic. When she spoke, her voice was completely calm, but there was something new in it now, something that made Patricia's hand freeze in midair. "Patricia, I've been extremely patient with you, but if you touch me again, you're going to find out exactly who you've been pushing around for the past 4 months. Patricia's confident smile faltered just slightly. Something in Lisa's stance, in her tone, in the way she held herself had changed. For the first time, Patricia seemed to realize she might have made a serious miscalculation. But pride is a powerful thing, and Patricia had spent too many years as the neighborhood bully to back down now, especially in front of an audience. She shoved Lisa again, harder this time, And that's when everything changed. The moment Patricia's hand made contact with Lisa's shoulder for the third time, something shifted in the air. Lisa didn't stumble backward like Patricia expected. She didn't get angry or scared. Instead, she moved. It happened so fast that most people watching couldn't quite process what they'd seen. Lisa's hand came up in a smooth arc, deflecting Patricia's arm away from her body with perfect precision. At the same time, she pivoted on her back foot, creating distance between them in one fluid motion. The technique was so clean, so practiced, that it looked almost like a dance. Patricia stumbled forward slightly, thrown off balance by Lisa's unexpected movement. Her eyes went wide with confusion. Lisa didn't advance or attack. She simply stood there, but her stance was completely different now. Her feet were shoulder-width apart, knees slightly bent. Her hands were raised in a defensive position, relaxed but ready. Her breathing was controlled and even. Everything about her body language screamed trained fighter. "What the?" Patricia started to say, but the words died in her throat. The park had gone completely silent. Everyone was staring. Jenny's mouth was hanging open. The older couple had stopped walking entirely. At least 8 phones were now recording. Lisa's voice was calm but carried a weight it hadn't had before. "Patricia, I didn't want to do this. I've spent 4 months trying to handle this peacefully. But you've left me no choice." Patricia tried to recover her composure, but Lisa could see the fear starting to creep into her eyes. "Are you threatening me?" "No, I'm educating you." Lisa lowered her hands slightly but maintained her balanced stance. "I am a 3rd-degree black belt in Shotokan karate. I've been training for 15 years. 3 times a week, every week for 15 years, the crowd murmured. Jenny actually gasped. Patricia's face had gone pale. "I've competed in regional and national tournaments," Lisa continued, her voice steady and clear. "I've won medals. I've broken boards and concrete blocks. I've sparred with some of the best fighters in the state. But in all those 15 years, I have never once used my training to intimidate someone. I've never used it to hurt someone outside of controlled competition. I've never even told most people about it because that's not what martial arts is about." Patricia took a step backward, and Lisa could see her hands trembling slightly. "Martial arts taught me discipline," Lisa said. "It taught me patience. It taught me how to control my emotions and my reactions. That's why I've been so calm for the past 4 months while you've harassed me. Not because I was scared of you, not because I was weak, but because I was choosing peace over conflict." Lisa shifted her weight, and even though it was just a small movement, Patricia flinched. The woman who had terrorized an entire neighborhood for over a decade was actually afraid. "But martial arts also taught me about respect," Lisa continued, "and about knowing when enough is enough. You've trespassed on my property. You've filed false complaints. You've tried to publicly humiliate me, and now you've physically assaulted me in front of witnesses. I barely touched you," Patricia said weakly. But everyone had seen her shove Lisa. "Multiple times. You did. 3 times. And I defended myself with minimal force. I could have done much more, but I didn't because unlike you, I understand restraint." Lisa's eyes never left Patricia's face. "This harassment ends today. Right now. Do you understand me?" Patricia opened her mouth, then closed it. She looked around at the crowd, perhaps hoping someone would back her up, but everyone just stared back at her, some with shock, some with barely concealed satisfaction at finally seeing someone stand up to the neighborhood bully. "I asked you a question," Lisa said firmly. "Do you understand me?" "Yes," Patricia whispered. "I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Yes." Patricia said louder, her voice cracking slightly. "Yes, I understand." "Good. Now I'm going to go back to my book and you're going to go home. And from this day forward, you're going to leave me alone. If you have a legitimate HOA concern, you can put it in writing like you would for anyone else. But the daily harassment, the trespassing, the false complaints, all of that stops now." Patricia nodded quickly, then turned and started walking away. But Lisa wasn't quite done. "Patricia." The woman stopped and turned back, looking like she wanted to be anywhere else in the world. "One more thing," Lisa said, her voice gentler now. "I hope you realize that I just gave you a gift. I could have filed charges for assault. I could have defended myself in a way that would have sent you to the hospital. But I didn't because I don't want to hurt you. I just want to live in peace. I hope you can respect that." Patricia didn't respond. She just turned and walked away quickly, almost running by the time she reached the parking lot. The moment she was gone, the park erupted. People started clapping, actually clapping. Jenny ran over with tears in her eyes and hugged Lisa tightly. Oh my God, Jenny kept saying. That was incredible. I can't believe you never told anyone. A black belt? A third-degree black belt? The older couple from across the street came over, both grinning. We've lived here for 20 years, the man said. 20 years of Patricia Hartley making everyone miserable. That woman has driven out so many good people. And you just handled her like it was nothing. It wasn't nothing, Lisa said quietly, sitting back down on the bench. Her hands were shaking now, adrenaline finally catching up with her. I really didn't want it to come to that. But you were amazing, Jenny said. And you were right. You didn't hurt her. You just showed her who she was messing with. That was perfect. More neighbors came over to thank her, to share their own stories of Patricia's harassment, to express their relief that someone had finally stood up to her. Lisa listened to each of them, understanding for the first time just how much damage one cruel person could do to an entire community. By the time she finally went home that evening, her phone was buzzing constantly. The video had already spread through the neighborhood Facebook group. Not just one video, but multiple angles from different people who'd been recording. The comments were overwhelmingly supportive. About time someone put her in her place. That was the most graceful takedown I've ever seen. Did you see Patricia's face? Priceless. Lisa didn't comment on any of them. She just put her phone down, made herself a cup of tea, and sat on her back porch. The evening air was cool and peaceful. Somewhere in the distance, she could hear kids playing, dogs barking, the normal sounds of a neighborhood at rest. For the first time since moving to Oakwood Hills, Lisa felt like she could finally breathe. The weight she'd been carrying for 4 months had lifted. Not because she'd wanted to fight, but because she'd been forced to show that she could. Her phone buzzed one more time. It was a text from Master Kim, her karate instructor. Someone had apparently sent him the video. Excellent control. Proud of you. Remember, the best victory is the one where nobody gets hurt. Lisa smiled and texted back, Thank you, Master. I remembered everything you taught me, and she had. Every single lesson. Not just about fighting, but about life. The next few days were surreal. Lisa woke up Monday morning half expecting everything to go back to the way it was, with Patricia finding some new way to harass her. But when she left for work, something was different. The older couple across the street actually waved at her. Not a quick, nervous wave, but a real friendly greeting. Good morning, Lisa, the woman called out. Have a great day. It was such a small thing, but it meant everything. For the first time, Lisa felt like she actually belonged in the neighborhood. At school that day, Lisa couldn't focus on teaching. She kept thinking about what had happened at the park. Had she done the right thing? Should she have just kept taking Patricia's abuse? But then she remembered the look of relief on Jenny's face, the way other neighbors had thanked her, and she knew the answer. Sometimes standing up for yourself meant standing up for everyone. When she got home, there was an envelope in her mailbox. For a second, her heart sank, thinking it was another HOA violation notice. But when she opened it, she found a handwritten note from Carol, one of the neighbors who had approached her after the HOA meeting. Thank you for your courage. My family almost left because of Patricia's harassment. You gave us hope that things can change. You're a hero to this neighborhood. Lisa's eyes watered a little as she read it. She'd never thought of herself as a hero. She'd just been trying to live her life in peace. That evening, Jenny showed up at her door with her husband, Tom, and their 2 kids. We're having a barbecue this weekend, Jenny said excitedly, and we want you to be the guest of honor. Please say you'll come? Lisa laughed. Guest of honor? I just stood up for myself. You did more than that, Tom said seriously. You stood up for all of us. Patricia has controlled this neighborhood through fear for years. People were afraid to put up holiday decorations, afraid to park in their own driveways, afraid to live in their own homes. You changed that. The next HOA meeting was scheduled for Thursday night. Lisa hadn't planned to go, but Jenny convinced her it was important to be there. When Lisa walked into the community center, the room was packed. Way more people than had been at the last meeting. At least 50 residents filled every chair and lined the walls. Patricia was conspicuously absent. The vice president, a kind-looking man named Robert, stood at the front. Thank you all for coming. I know attendance is higher than usual tonight. Before we begin, I want to address what happened at the park last Saturday. The room went silent. Lisa felt her face flush. Many of you have seen the videos, Robert continued, and many of you have reached out to other board members with concerns about Patricia Hartley's conduct, not just regarding this incident, but over the past several years. The board has been reviewing these complaints and we've made a decision. He paused, looking directly at Lisa. First, I want to apologize to Lisa Chen on behalf of the HOA board. The harassment you experienced was unacceptable and does not represent the values of this community. We should have addressed this issue long ago. People started clapping. Lisa wasn't sure what to do, so she just nodded. Second, Robert continued, the board has voted unanimously to remove Patricia Hartley from her position as HOA president, effective immediately. We've also voted to revise our community guidelines to focus more on reasonable standards and less on excessive enforcement. We want Oakwood Hills to be a place where people feel welcome, not intimidated. The applause this time was thunderous. Lisa saw tears on some people's faces. An older man in the back actually stood up and cheered. Robert smiled. We're also forming a new community committee to review all existing rules and make recommendations for changes. We'd like Lisa to be on that committee if she's willing. Everyone turned to look at her. Lisa felt overwhelmed. I'm not sure I'm qualified. You're more than qualified, said a voice from the side. It was the city inspector who had come to her house. You showed more integrity and restraint in 5 minutes than Patricia showed in 12 years. This neighborhood needs people like you. Lisa took a deep breath. Okay, yes, I'll help however I can. The meeting continued, but the mood was completely different from last time. People were smiling, laughing, actually enjoying being there. During the break, at least a dozen neighbors came up to Lisa with their own ideas for improving the community. Not strict rules, but actual improvements. A neighborhood watch program, community garden plots, a yearly block party. 2 weeks later, Lisa heard through Jenny that Patricia had put her house on the market. She was moving to a different state to be closer to family, or at least that's what she told her real estate agent. The truth was she couldn't face the neighborhood anymore. The woman who had ruled through fear and intimidation couldn't handle living among people who no longer feared her. Lisa didn't feel victorious about it. Actually, she felt a little sad. Patricia had wasted so much time and energy trying to control everyone, and in the end, she'd driven herself out of her own home. One Saturday morning, about a month after the incident at the park, Lisa was in her front yard planting new flowers. She'd chosen bright purple and yellow ones, the kind that Patricia would have definitely complained about for being too colorful. A car she didn't recognize pulled up, and a young couple got out. They were holding hands and looking at Patricia's house with hopeful expressions. The real estate agent was showing them around. The woman noticed Lisa gardening and walked over with a friendly smile. Hi, we're thinking about buying the house across the street. Can I ask you what it's like living here? Lisa stood up, brushing dirt off her knees. It's a great neighborhood. Friendly people. We look out for each other. We're actually working on starting a community garden and planning some neighborhood events. That sounds wonderful, the woman said. The agent mentioned there used to be some issues with the HOA, but things have recently changed. They have, Lisa said with a genuine smile. Big changes. For the better. After they left, Lisa went back to her gardening, and then she did something she hadn't done since her first day in the house. She went inside, found her mother's wind chimes, and hung them back up on the front porch. The gentle tinkling sound filled the air, peaceful and perfect. Jenny came by later that afternoon with iced tea. They sat on Lisa's porch together, listening to the wind chimes and watching kids ride their bikes down the street. Nobody measured the grass height. Nobody checked if cars were parked at the exact right angle. Nobody took photographs looking for violations. You know what the best part is? Jenny said, taking a sip of her tea. People are actually outside now. Before, everyone stayed inside, afraid Patricia would find something to complain about. Now look at the street. Kids playing. People talking to each other. This is what a neighborhood should feel like. Lisa smiled, watching a young boy teaching his little sister how to ride a bike. Sometimes standing up to a bully isn't just about defending yourself. It's about giving other people permission to live freely, too. You should teach a class or something, Jenny suggested. Self-defense. I bet a lot of women in the neighborhood would love to learn. Lisa considered it. Actually, that's not a bad idea. Master Kim always says the best part of martial arts is passing on what you've learned, and that's exactly what she did. Within 2 months, Lisa was teaching free self-defense classes at the community center every Saturday morning. Not just physical techniques, but the mental discipline too. How to stay calm under pressure, how to recognize when to walk away and when to stand your ground, how to be strong without being aggressive. The classes filled up immediately. 15 women showed up the first week, 25 the second week. By the third month, she had to split it into 2 sessions to accommodate everyone. Her little house in Oakwood Hills had stopped being just a place to sleep and grade papers. It had become a home. A real home in a real community with real neighbors who cared about each other. And on quiet evenings, when Lisa sat on her back porch with a cup of tea and a good book, she could hear her wind chimes singing softly in the breeze. Not a sound of victory, but a sound of peace. Finally, after all these months, genuine peace.